Hi all, it's Deirdre with Second Wind Vintage, and today I'm going to show you a super quick tutorial about gel stain. Now there are two types of stains you can use when dealing with wood. You can use a gel stain or you can use a penetrating stain. The penetrating stain has to seep into the wood absorbs it, and it gets dyed. And the second type, the gel stain, sits on top of the wood. Doesn't get absorbed, and it's transparent, so it acts as like a filter and tints the wood underneath. And because of that, if you're looking for just a quick, easy way to update a finish, change a finish's color, and you're going darker than what you got originally, gel stain is definitely the right move. If you're going lighter, or if your finish is really like alligatory and messed up, you have a lot of damage, and you're stripping off the original top coat completely, penetrating stain is always the best move because it's clearer. It gives a more shimmery, deep, interesting, I guess is the word, finish to your wood. Makes it less boring. But if you have a wood that's relatively flat, like oak, the original top coat is in good shape. It's just been like left by a window and it's super faded, or it's like a honey oak color, which we can all agree screams 1995. And we want to update it with a darker color to make things pop more, or to just modernize it or make it look better. Then definitely reach for the gel stain. So I'm going to show you how to do the gel stain. So what I did to this piece up until this point is I gave it a light scuff sand. By scuff sand, like, you don't go crazy. You literally take very fine sandpaper. 220 is what I usually use. Sometimes when I'm doing paint I do 120, but definitely with the gel stain use a 220, and it's literally you just go, that's it. You just want to rough up the finish that's on there enough to give it something for your gel stain to grip onto. You want to give it tooth, as we say in the business. So I did that, and then I wiped it down real well so we don't have any dust bits or anything like that on there. Okay, so we're ready for our gel stain. My favorite happens to be General Finishes. When I started, it's like General Finishes is like $37 a can. Minwax is like 20 something. I'm gonna try the Minwax, and Minwax works totally fine. And then I decided to try the General Finishes, and it really is so much better. So like I rarely endorse one product over the other, but if you want to do a gel stain, General Finish, it's smoother, it's highly pigmented, it's just so much better than the Minwax. So I highly recommend giving it a go. They come in little pints too, if you're not, if you don't think you're going to use it a lot, or you know, you're not sure it's your thing. Okay, so glove up as always. I use like a dishwashing type glove, because if you just use the normal little plastic gloves, those are porous and you're going to stain your hands, which I don't know if you've noticed. I didn't use two before when I did the other side, and it's all over. So we're going to glove up. Then we have a lint-free rag that we're going to use to dip and wipe. Now your can says put it on, play with the brush, and wipe it off. But that's a very silly game. I don't like doing that because you're betting you're going to be able to wipe it off before it starts to dry, because it does dry and it gets tacky. And also you can't tell what color it is under there until you wipe it off. Maybe you went too dark, then what? You know. So by just wiping it, we might have to do 1 or 2 applications, but we're going to get exactly what we want. It's not going to be streaky, it's not going to be as messy. So I just dip and get a chunk on there. And I'm going to put it in the middle because I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to try my best to, probably should have taped those off, but it's metal, so I'm just going to wipe. If I get it on in there, I'm going to wipe it off immediately. I'm lazy, I don't like taping. So just wipe it. And I'm going to start circular to spread it out and try and get it. And then I'm going to finish my white with the green. So if I do get any little streaky bits, they'll be more camouflaged. And I'm just going to keep on going over it and over it to spread it out. And I like to kind of make it a little bit darker around like the edges. Kind of gives it a cool little glaze effect. And if this was a bigger surface, I'd be able to spread it out more to where I want it. It's a little dark, so I'm going to use my less whatever wet product or whatever just to wipe it back a little bit to get the excess off. Like I said, if it was big, I wouldn't have to do that. Because usually I just like to spread it around and get it where it needs to go. But yeah, so you can see it's much darker, it's richer. I did a cool little fade effect on the top to give it, so it still looks old. It's an old piece of furniture. Gives it depth, dimension, makes it interesting, makes it less boring. Just gonna wipe my gel stain off my metal, and later I can go back and like use a wipe and scrub if it's still there. Steel wool, whatever, it'll come right off because this metal has no tooth to it, which is why I use scuff sand. So I'm gonna do it one more time. I'm gonna put a little bit less on this time because I knew that was too much for that little surface. We'll do this top one because this one's real faded out. And if it's if you're looking at it and it looks a little dry, it's gonna take your stain more than if it's a nice moist piece of wood. So keep that in mind too, with how much you put on, your color choice, whatnot. This is the Java, and I like to use the Java because the only time I use the gel stain is when I'm going over an existing top coat, and it's literally just tinting. It's not getting absorbed by the wood at all. So I want to use a color that's slightly darker than I want my finished product. I mean, that's, yeah, slightly darker than I want my finished product to be. Because when it's acting as like a filter, it's going to come out lighter. Like if this was a totally naked piece of wood, no top coat whatsoever, it would be like black. It would be the Java color, but because we're going over the existing finish, it's just tinting it. So it's not going to come out that dark, and it's actually going to come out the nice walnut color that I would like. So always pick, if you're going over a top coat, one that is a shade darker. So yeah, so that's generally the thing I do. You just wipe it on. It's easy. Just pay attention. Make sure, because when you're going around, your rag gets wet and it's going to splat, that there's little splats there. So just always be mindful of the area you're working in. Try and wipe away any streaks, splats, whatnot. We're going to have way less because we're just wiping on, and that's it, instead of smacking on and then wiping off. And then top coat. Let's talk top coat. So this is an oil-based product. So if I want to use a water-based top coat, which is what I usually use, I can with this stain, because when it dries, it's dry. That it actually dries. Like penetrating oil stain, super hard to get it dry 100%, and there's always some little bit of moisture that's going to interact with your water base. So I usually don't do that with that one, but gel stain legit dries. It's like paint. It's a transparent wood colored paint. So 72 hours, this will be good to go. I can put my water on there. If I'm using a shellac, I can do it as soon as this is dry to the touch. And if I'm using an oil-based, same thing, dry to the touch. But if I'm like using a wipe on oil-based, I would wait a little longer because you might wipe this off, which defeats the purpose of doing this in the first place. So just read the can. If you're not using general finishes, I don't know how long that would be. And just wait for it to be totally dry if you're using water. If you're using shellac, dry to the touch because you're just using a brush. And if you're using oil poly, with a rag, like a wipe-on application. Again, give it the 72, just to be sure. And that is it. So gel stain, super easy way to put some life back into a piece that's been dry and bleached and or just 1995. Right, so I hope I've inspired you to try, play around with some stain and wood and have fun.